Welcome to the Daily Insider here on VegasInsider.com for Monday, October 11th, 2021. Happy Columbus Day and also Canadian Thanksgiving as well. But we're not going to talk a lot of CFL today. They have two games this afternoon. We will have plenty to go over from the weekend in sports. NFL, a lot of crazy finishes yesterday. Of course, in college, Alabama getting knocked off on Saturday. Iowa rallies to beat Penn State, and the big Oklahoma victory over Texas at the Cotton Bowl. So we'll get to all of that in just a few moments. Dave Sharapan will join us, as he does every Monday, former oddsmaker and media personality. And before we get to Dave and look at the NFL for the weekend, let's tell you about BetMGM. And at BetMGM, it's really great because they're the king of sports books, and they have a deal right now. Bet $10 to win $200 if your team scores a touchdown. You bet on any NFL money line, and if your team scores a touchdown, you'll receive an additional $200 in free bets. Now, you must be a new player to be eligible for this deal. Also, must be 21 years or older, and it is legal in the following states: New Jersey, Colorado, Indiana, West Virginia, Tennessee, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Virginia, Iowa, Washington, D.C., and Arizona. Full terms and conditions apply. BetMGM, they are the king of sports books. And, honestly, I don't even know where to begin with this weekend, because you look back at the college games, and Texas is up 28-7 on Oklahoma. It seems like that game's in the bag for the Longhorns, who've had problems with the Sooners forever. And Oklahoma, their backup quarterback, they rally, they win, and they cover the 3, which is amazing in the final minute of that game. Alabama loses to Texas A&M after they somehow, because they're Alabama, they came back and they took the lead, but A&M tied it and then kicked the game-winning field goal. So Alabama loses, and you have that Penn State-Iowa game as well. Penn State's up comfortably, and then the injury of Sean Clifford, Iowa comes back, they win. So there's a lot of craziness in college football. And again, we'll talk NFL in a moment with Dave Sharapan. But the baseball yesterday, in case you missed that in the middle of all the NFL, with what happened in Boston, the Red Sox beat the Rays in extra innings in the walk-off homer, and you had the zany play on the ground rule double. Nobody had ever seen someone getting the ball knocked out over the right field fence for it to be a dead ball. And then all of a sudden, the Rays can't score again. You knew the game was over, that the Rays were not going to win that game after they had that call go against them. It was the right call. It's a terrible rule, but it's the right call. And the Red Sox end up winning it with a walk-off homer. In the bottom of that inning, the White Sox rally past the Astros. So Chicago's still alive now. We have 4 games today in Major League Baseball that we'll look at. Braves and Brewers begins the day at 1 o'clock in Atlanta. Then Astros, White Sox in Chicago, and Houston with another shot to close out Chicago there today at Guaranteed Rate Park. And then later on, it's the Red Sox and the Rays at Fenway. And then coming up late tonight, it's the Dodgers and the Giants from Los Angeles. Max Scherzer on the mound. All right, let us talk to our friend. He's everyone's friend, I guess you could say that, Dave Sharapan. Now, Dave, who joins us here, I don't know if you have a fashion faux pas because you have an old Harold Baines hat, but you had a Frank Thomas type jersey. I don't know if that's really working, but I guess I'll give you a little bit of leeway since the White Sox won last night.
Thank you, Kevin. Yeah, we got to throw this together because I don't have the hat specific to match the jersey. I can't find the Harold Baines throwback Sox jersey across. That's the one I want. So we're going black. Real men wear black, they keep telling me, with the old school hat with the red bill. It's got to work because, listen, Rodon wins again today. This thing goes to 5, Kevin. It has to go to 5 if we're just rooting for baseball, and we're rooting for a team that we got a 15-1 shot to win the World Series that we bought a long time ago. So I'm just keeping hope alive wearing the baseball stuff today.
Now, let me correct myself. It's more of a Tony La Russa look because you're going 80s La Russa with the hat and then today La Russa with the jersey. So use that one.
All right, whatever works. I'll wear. You can say whatever. It don't matter. I'm wearing it, and I'm out there. We're putting it. Let's go Sox. Get us back to Houston. That's the only goal I got today. Just get us back to Houston.
I want to start with the baseball day before we get to the football. And so last night, Chicago comes back 5-1 down, and they beat the Astros. Number one, I guess. So how can the Astros complain about someone cheating? That's when you had to play down the line. But in all seriousness, the White Sox coming back, it seemed like they were dead in the water, and Cease didn't pitch well. He didn't have good numbers against the Astros this year. But now you go to Rodon today, who's dominated the Astros. Does Chicago still have a shot in this series, even going back to, if they could win today and go back to Houston, or you think that them going back to Houston, the Astros are just going to finish it off?
Oh no, I think when you get to a game 5, you're live. You just have to get to the game 5. So I think today with Rodon having had the success that he's had, I really do like them today, and just giving them a shot in Houston is enough for me. A one gamer, we've seen this. Anybody can beat anybody in one game. So, and it's just a great story. I'm rooting for half the time. I'm rooting for the story just so we can have another day to talk about it. And in the book, we always rooted for the longest series. Just give us another game so we get more bets and we get more people in the books and stuff like that. So I can't shake that part of me. But again, I bought this thing a long time ago, sitting on that 15-1. I want to just have an opportunity to get to the ALCS, and then I can maybe work some hedging, buy some other tickets. It gives you a lot of options when you're holding that ticket. So let's go Sox.
Now the other Sox, because of course Boston needs more luck in sports, don't they? Okay, so last night, Dave, you have this game where the Rays, they've done this now 2 straight games. They have a big first inning, and then I feel like their offense just goes away. And That's what happened in game 2. Boston blew them out. They go back to Fenway. They get 2 early. Red Sox go up 4-2. Rays get 2 to tie it. And then they go to extras. I know it's a terrible rule. They got it right because I feel like on that play on the Kiermaier hit that you can't bring them home. You can't, because then everything's a judgment call. That's the issue with it. And again, I did not want to see the Red Sox win that game, but how do you have to find a way in the offseason to fix that somehow. I know it's a 1 in a million shot, but what were your thoughts on that play last night that prevented the Rays from that go-ahead run?
We've had that discussion come up in softball games. That's happened actually to me while I'm coaching. And it's frustrating to say the least, but a lot of times because it never happens, you're like, all right, well, what do we do? And then someone's going to be unhappy no matter what you do. Whether you say, well, listen, he was going to score. You have to advance the runner. The batter can have 2 bases. You can call it a ground rule double, but the guy was going to score. It wasn't even going to be a play. So, you can rule with that, but you can't. And, I'm watching it live and I'm going, all this money that's bet on this stuff. And they got to they're not making it up, but they're almost coming to a decision right on the spot. It blows my mind. I mean, it blows my mind. Every week I say all the time. And now I'm starting to see it all over social media. Like, we bet real money on this league when we're talking about the NFL. You can say the same about this stuff too. But man, that was a hell of a baseball game, K-Raj. Like that was Tampa is so good. They're relentless. They don't let you breathe. The story so far of Boston's little postseason that we're, a couple games into now is the bullpen. The bullpen's been ridiculous. They keep getting guys out, and Sales, what did he pitch? 1 inning? He didn't pitch anything. They asked Evaldi yesterday to go on short rest, and he goes enough, and they still get it done. All that being said, I think Tampa wins today. It takes it back to Tampa. Like, as much as I like the Sox, and yes, it's fun to root against them when you don't have a ticket on them because they're Boston and all that. I think somehow Tampa gets it done today because it's got to be another bullpen managed day, and that's what they do best.
And I just find it so interesting when you bring up that game 2, Dave, about Chris Sale. Like, oh, Chris Sale's an underdog. Guy was terrible. He gave up a grand slam, and they still scored 14 runs in that game. Didn't need him.
Yeah, it's so the baseball postseason, like they play all these games and everything to get to this point, and then we look at it as bettors in the book, and we're basing a lot of our decisions on what we saw in the regular season, and none of it matters. I say none of it matters. I mean, you have to kind of have a feel, and this is one of those fun times. Like what we're seeing now will help us in the ALCS and the NLCS. And I love doing this in the NHL playoffs because you have more rounds to do it with, but you can really get a feel for who has the momentum, who believes in their goaltender, and like in baseball, which pitchers are really you can count on. And right now in Major League Baseball, which starter am I going to hand the ball to and say, I feel really confident that he's going to win today? There's very few of them. I mean, Scherzer's price today in LA. That's crazy. It's the Giants who have the most wins in a regular season, 107 wins, and have a lefty in Wood who can stifle the Dodgers lefties, may even put Bellinger on the bench. I haven't seen the lineups yet. You're getting plus 180 with a team that won 107? Like, it doesn't make any sense. The baseball postseason is just an inch behind the NHL postseason for me.
Yeah, it really is great. A lot of tension with these games, and the Dodgers, they're heavy favorites there with Scherzer, and he wasn't even sharp in that game against the Cardinals. He still pitched well, and the only run they got was on a wild pitch.
Yeah, it's amazing, right? That game, you sat and watched that game and just waiting for something to happen, different things happen, and nobody was scoring. And like the Dodgers were that close to being out. I mean, he was out of the game before the fifth inning was complete. Max Scherzer. So he found a way to get through what he had to get through. That's what veterans like him do. I mean, the guy's a tremendous pitcher. All that being said, you can't lay $195, $2. This thing's going up, man. Like it's going up because it's the Dodgers. And I've been saying it all year. The Giants aren't getting any respect in the betting market, in the odds market, or anything. They may just go on and win this thing. Crazy.
Now, Dave, let's look at Week 5 in the NFL and Chargers Browns. Just a ridiculous game in LA. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You see the total 47, and the Chargers got there by themselves. Baker Mayfield, they had talked about him with the torn labrum in his shoulder, and he still put up 42 points. But Justin Herbert, the work that he's been able to do for the Chargers, it's amazing because right now it seems like the Chargers are the team to beat in the AFC West.
Oh, the Chargers are the team to beat in the AFC West. I'm impressed with the Chargers. They've shown us now at this point in the season, they can pretty much win any style of game, which that's what impresses me. Not so much, the number of wins, it's how you win the games. So between them and Buffalo, I mean, I think those are your best teams in the AFC. And it's not out of the realm of possibility that Herbert's in the MVP discussions now. I think very much so. One of the odds-on favorites because he just continues to put up the numbers and get the wins where, Mahomes is just they're not playing with a level playing field right now. Their defense is just not championship quality. It's not going to help them win games. And how many passes do we see in the Chiefs go through their hands, tip balls and stuff, and they're falling? He's throwing picks. Guy never threw picks. So, yeah, I was really impressed with the Chargers and what they did. As far as Cleveland, dude, I don't know. I still don't know. I'm not ready to give them the division. I'm not ready to punch their ticket to an AFC championship. Just something about it. I just don't see it.
Let's take a look at the AFC championship rematch on Sunday night. Bills beat the Chiefs. You had the long lightning delay, but 38-20. I still believe, Dave, and I know it sounds kind of hokey, but the double revenge spot for Buffalo, this was a bigger game for the Bills than it was for the Chiefs. That this was the we're not at the Chiefs level yet, but if we can beat them on national TV at Arrowhead, we can show that we can compete with this team that went to the Super Bowl the last 2 years. Josh Allen played very well. And you know what, Dave? You don't get Buffalo that often as an underdog. So I think that a lot of people wanted to pounce on that.
Oh, without a doubt. This number came high and got bet down. This was one of the worst games of the week for the book because the money line got there. The total went over. You hang 56.5 expecting, geez, they're going to bet over and we're going to get under. No. Very impressed. Very, very impressed with the Bills. And I was actually down at the book at the Circa last night with some people watching the game. The whole place had the Bills. Everybody was hooting and hollering. I think the Chiefs, little being that public team and stuff, it was out the window yesterday. There was way more people, and whether it was late at night and there was people little liquored up, they were hooting and hollering for everything the Bills did. And, that included the plays on defense, which I think, if you didn't come away from that game last night with them going, well, the Bills can play defense too. They're not just an offensive juggernaut. I think you missed the show.
So who cried more yesterday, Dave? Was it the sports books or was it Dan Campbell of the Lions? I mean, the sports books finally had a losing week. The favorites went 11-4 straight up, 9-6 against the spread. So, how did it feel there with the sports books? Took an L.
Oh, it has to happen. That's people talk about it all the time. The public never wins. The public wins. The people win. It's not a zero-sum game. You wouldn't have a business if the general public or whoever this public guy is wins. The Joes, they win. I don't know how much they won on Saturday though. K-Ross, college football Saturday, that was one of the most fun days I can remember in recent history with, the craziness of the games, let alone the results. Anytime Alabama loses, it's outstanding. And now, you get to go Sunday and adjust the futures and not put Alabama at the top as the favorite. Clemson's been gone for a couple weeks now. So college football's opened back up. So as much as they may have lost and cried on Sunday, they're doing okay on Saturday, and there's no sympathy for the book. There's more sympathy for the devil than there is for the bookmaker. Heard that one a long time ago from my buddy Purdom, and I use it all the time. It's true. What about even that fight on Saturday night? The books are doing fine.
Now, I want to look at a couple other games in the NFL, Dave. Let's go to your Steelers. Ooh. Because you know what? I did like them yesterday. I thought that was a good spot to take them in. Mm-hmm. Teddy Bridgewater was probable. He was in concussion protocol the whole week. I just thought this was a good spot for Pittsburgh to bounce back. And not say I don't think much of Denver. They beat 3 bad teams. And when they faced a good team like the Ravens, they got destroyed. So I thought this was a good spot here with the Steelers, everybody being down on them.
100%. This is, again, I thought this might be the case at home against Cincinnati 2 weeks ago. Didn't happen. Thought last week I didn't like them at Green Bay. Just didn't like the spot. And Green Bay has some sort of magic working again. I call Rodgers a wizard. He's figuring it out. But yesterday, having the Steelers, the number steamed up. I mean, again, as soon as Bridgewater was ruled that he was in, the bets all came in on Denver. And I was in the morning, I said, this Steelers are going to win this game. And I was here with the kids, had some family in town. I was like, Steelers are going to win today. And they're like, how do you know? I'm like, I can't explain it. They're just going to win. So, although we suffered, it looks like Juju may be out a considerable amount of time. It's maybe one of those years that the Steelers grind and just work their way to 8-9 or 9-8 and miss the playoffs. But you're going to have spots like this. They're laying 4.5 right now at home against Seattle with another, they get a backup quarterback there. I'm not ready to be laying 4.5 with the Steelers. It's good to see them get a win, but that number seems way too high to me. The number probably should be 3.5. That's just my first thought.
Now, Dave, there's one 5-0 team in the NFL. It's the Arizona Cardinals. But there's one 5-0 ATS team. That's the Dallas Cowboys. 3 straight wins at home, Dave, over the Eagles, over the Panthers, and over the Giants, and they cover them all. Have you ever in your life seen Dallas start 5-0 against the spread?
No. I mean, maybe back in the day when they had the triplets in Aikman, and I don't even think then because the numbers were too high. That's one that is also building momentum. Like, again, it's so much fun now for me to go to different books on the weekends because I used to be trapped in a risk room and doing numbers and taking bets and just seeing everything through screens. And now when I'm out and about, this game in the afternoon session, as crazy as that Browns-Charger game was, the Cowboy fans were hooting and hollering every time they scored, every time they did something. Then they got a little distance, and there was just a party. I mean, and the Dallas stuff is out. Public team. This is top 3 public team in all of football every week. When they're bad, it only lessens a little, but when they're good, it piles on. 5-0 against the spread. They're going to finish 2 games maybe over 500. 17 games. What are they going to 9 and 8 against the spread? No, probably 10. Oh man, I don't know. 10 and 7. That'd be a pretty good record. ATS. They're 5-0. So expect some regression and some inflated numbers on the Cowboys going forward.
Did you know anybody that had the Vikings in the survivor pool this week?
No, but man, if you did, you better check on them because that last 2 minutes of that game, oh my goodness, how do you breathe? That was unbelievable. I mean, and I saw the post game with Dan Campbell. Hey, listen, I go play for that coach. I love it. He was genuine, sincere. But man, if you had Lions money line, you really got to consider, hockey season starts tomorrow. Maybe start betting hockey because it's just not meant to be. If you're holding that Lions ticket, how many times can you get this close and not win? And if you have the Vikings, I'd like to ask you who you like in the baseball today. I don't want any thought. I just want to know that I want to touch that horseshoe that you got. It's impossible that they win that game.
I saw a stat or a nugget, I guess, more so a factoid, that Detroit's the first team ever, Dave, to lose on 2 50-yard plus field goals. And it's only been 5 weeks. It's not like a whole season. This happened twice in 3 weeks for them.
It's terrible. I don't mean to laugh, but like the one was from 6. What was Tucker? 66?
Off the crossbar.
Off the crossbar and through. And then yesterday, he makes the call to go for 2, which at the time I'm like, I was watching it going, wow, he's really just going for it. They know they got to get a win. This is great. They make it. And my first thought was, oh no, how much time's left? Are they going to lose again like this? And man, it's tough to be a Lions fan, but wow, it's going to pay dividends. They're going to be good. But the pain to get there, man, it's tough. Oh, that was a tough one.
Now, the Packers, you talked about Aaron Rodgers earlier. Look, they were blown out by the Saints. Oh, is Aaron Rodgers done? This Green Bay team, the window's closed on them. They've won 4 straight, Dave. They're 4-1, and it looks like they're going to run away with the NFC North. And a lot of missed kicks in that game. I'll get your thoughts on that in a second. But that's a really good win going to Cincinnati because the Bengals are improved. Burrow made a bad throw in overtime, but good job there by Green Bay to get the win, and now they're 4-1 of the season.
Don't bury Green Bay yet. That's what I keep watching and seeing, and you watch the way Rodgers is operating. They can run the ball. By the way, they now have Randall Cobb is getting those hard slot receiver, move the chain first downs. I don't know how they won that game yesterday again with the missed kicks and then the pick, and then they get another opportunity, and Crosby misses all those, and they still win. The game falls on the number. Which for a lot of books, That opened 3.5, even 4, got down to 3. Then the books were like, well, listen, nobody but the bad guys and stuff are betting the Bengals. We better go in with them. Let's move it to 2.5 and take even more on the Packers. And the game falls 3. So you'll see some articles today. Some people, even mentioned it, that they got middled on the game. That happens sometimes to the book. I would have gone on a 3 and just let it sit myself. But again, it's easy for me to say now. It happens. And the Packers keep winning games. Now, who do they get this week? Okay, Raj, they get Green Bay goes to Chicago. Oh, the Bears. Vegas became the south side of Chicago this week. There were so many people here, Kevin. It was incredible.
Now, staying with that game, I don't want to go to they're a fraud, but it feels very much like the Raiders are a fraud, that they should have lost to the Ravens. They should have lost to the Dolphins. Justin Fields goes in there, doesn't put up great numbers, but Chicago just is in control of that whole game. And all of a sudden, what looked like a promising season for the Raiders, I feel like has totally hit the wall that fast for them. And I got to give the Bears credit going out on the road, and there's been so many question marks about the quarterback position. Chicago's probably not going to catch Green Bay in the NFC North, but at least the Bears are putting together a nice little season.
That's a big, big win for the Bears. I think just, with Fields now being the quarterback, the defense is pretty solid. And if it's one of those situations, right, we've seen this before with the young quarterbacks, manage the game. You can go win it if we need you to, but don't lose it. Don't turn the ball over. We got guys going after their guys. We're not going to let them run the ball that much. We're going to get you the ball, move it down the field. Let us run the ball, chew the clock down there, and under bet every time right now. I think the Bears are one of those teams that you got to look to bet the under first before you bet anything else. And I'm telling you, I was out and about. This place was a madhouse. There were more Chicago people here, I think, at the game especially, than Raider fans. It's going to happen quickly like that. The Raiders season, a lot of false hope, I think, was created with the 3-0 start. And now you're going to see it kind of not spiral away, but the Raiders season win total was 6.5. They didn't just come up with that number. I mean, they're supposed to be under 500. 3-0 kind of led a lot of people to go, wow, this team's going to make the playoffs. This team's not making the playoffs. They weren't going to make the playoffs at 3-0. They're 3-2 now. They got to go to Denver. Somebody's got to win that game, although they could probably tie the way their seasons are going and then really screw everything up. But yeah, I don't think you're stepping out too far, Kevin, to say that, yeah, maybe they were a bit of a mirage.
Now, finally, Dave, we'll look at this Monday night game between the Colts and the Ravens in Baltimore. And you don't get the Colts as this heavy of a dog. And I looked at it last year. It was so interesting, Dave, that Indianapolis was not, and I know they have Phillip Rivers at quarterback, but they were never really a dog last year for a substantial dog until that wild card game against Buffalo, which they should have won. And now this year, rough schedule out of the gate. Seattle, I know Wilson's hurt. They kind of take a step back, but Seattle, the Rams, Tennessee, they beat the Dolphins last week. Now you go to Baltimore. I mean, Indianapolis, if they found a way to win this game, 2-3 is a miracle for them.
Oh, without a doubt. And with all the, the injuries with Wentz and how you sprain both ankles and all this stuff, it would be a huge win. And would keep them in the discussion, I think, for the division. Obviously, it's them and the Titans. That's it. The other teams in that division we ain't got to worry about. They got their own problems, just trying to win a game and trying to maybe secure a high draft choice. The number's perfect, 6.5 or 7. If you're 6.5, you want to lay it. I think if it's 7, you want to take it, which again is exactly what the book needs you to do. Just get to a number and then watch. I think this generates a lot of two-way action. I mean, I don't know, Kevin. The total's 45.5 and 46. There's some 46.5s popping up now. My first thought on this game, I think the best bet is over when I'm looking at it. I don't know if I can pick the winner. And for me, when I like handicap games or look at games, can the dog win this game? Yes. Are they going to Baltimore and winning? Well, I think it's a tall ask. I think it's a really hard spot for them to actually win the game. So when I don't really think the dog can win it or will win it, probably looking to play the favorite. The number's perfect.
Now, finally, Dave, the missed kicks around the NFL. I'm fine with the extra point getting moved back. I thought for too long, like we were wasting time by kicking the extra point because it was going to happen. Nobody ever missed. Now you're getting these funky scores all over the place, which I'm sure makes the odds makers' jobs a little bit more difficult. But now you got a lot of guys. It's not a given anymore making the extra point.
It's not. And like at one point yesterday, there were two games that were tied 22-22. And I was looking at the scores going, I don't think I've ever seen that in my life where two games in the NFL at the same time, let alone the same day, were 22-22. There was a stretch during the early session where there were 5 kicks missed within like 6 minutes, extra points and field goals. I think it's bringing a factor back into the equation that wasn't really a factor. I mean, when kickers were slightly, above average, there was a couple that were really good you could count on. Then it got to the point where everyone was good. And they were, like you said, wasting time with extra points. And any field goal under 50 was pretty much good when you lined up to kick it. Now, not so much. If I had a young one, I would be training them how to kick right now. Forget about being a lefty pitcher in baseball. I just need you to kick a football. Why? I'm telling you, just kick it. You don't have to kick straight on anymore. We'll angle you. We'll get a kicker coach, because I think there's a lot of future in it. How much it comes into play with making the numbers? Minimal. How much it comes into play grading the games? A lot. I think it's going to drive a lot of people crazy going forward.
Dave Sharapan, you could find him on Twitter at Sportsbook Consigliere, SportsBKCONSIG. And Dave joins us every Monday on the Daily Insider. Dave, thank you so much. Best of luck to the Sox, and we'll see what happens. We'll talk to you next week.
I'll be watching baseball, Kevin, but thanks for having me, and tell Christopher it was great seeing him. I had a very good time with him a couple nights while we were in Vegas.
And I'm sorry I avoided the Penn State talk with their loss to Iowa.
Thank you for not mentioning it, sir. I really do appreciate that. If we didn't get the quarterback hurt, I think we win that game. And we're the number 2 team in the country today, but we didn't. That's okay. We got a bye week and then run it out the rest of the way. We'll talk about it every single week.
Dave Sharapan, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
See you, Kev.
All right. There is Dave Sharapan, and always enjoy talking to him about everything. And yes, I wanted to avoid the touchy topic of Penn State football after their loss to Iowa this past week. And Iowa they can run the table. They'll be in the Final Four, but we'll see if they get past Ohio State in the Big Ten Championship. Now, WynnBET, they have a $1,000 risk-free first sports bet. When you download the WynnBET mobile sports book, you can get a $1,000 risk-free first bet. That means if you lose your first wager, you get it back up to $1,000 as a free bet credit that you can use for another bet. And WynnBET is legal in the following states: New Jersey, Colorado, Indiana, Virginia, Arizona, Tennessee, and Michigan. You can download the WynnBET Sports app, the mobile sports book, on iOS and Android. WynnBET. And you get your $1,000 risk-free first sports bet today. Must be 21 or older to bet, and terms and conditions do apply. Now, another thing I wanted to bring up too, that I didn't bring up with Dave, but as far as the college football this past weekend, and this absolutely insane Oklahoma-Texas game at the Cotton Bowl. My goodness. I know we talked about bad beats in the past, and Texas up 28-7 out of the chute. And Oklahoma, they still had that magic. They come back, and the Sooners beat the Longhorns. So not a good look for Steve Sarkisian to lose that game the first time he's coaching it as the head coach of Texas. But for Oklahoma, way to go. And they were a team that had gone through several weeks of winning but not covering against Kansas State, against West Virginia, against Nebraska. But yet somehow, here's a short favorite. They dug themselves a big hole, but still ended up coming out on top and beating their rivals. And if you had the Texas Longhorns, tough beat. Simple as that. I wish I had more to say about that, but tough beat and you move on. And if you had Oklahoma, congratulations, because that was one that was definitely not easy to sit through. Now, the one game we did not mention with Dave for Major League Baseball, Brewers-Braves, that begins at 1 o'clock in Atlanta. And Ian Anderson takes the mound for the Braves. Freddie Peralta goes for the Brewers. And so far, Milwaukee's offense has not been good in this series. They hit the 2-run homer in Game 1 off Charlie Morton. They get shut out in Game 2, but the Brewers have been a pretty good road team this year. And I think Milwaukee comes through with this one. I do. And even though Anderson's been really good at home for the Braves, Peralta's been excellent on the road. And I think with Milwaukee's offense struggling as much as it has at home, I think that, look, you're facing an Atlanta lineup that's talented from top to bottom. So that's nothing against the Braves. But I think Milwaukee, this is a good spot with them as a short underdog here against Atlanta. And that game gets going at about a little past 1 o'clock. So we have 4 games today in Major League Baseball. And it should be, again, very exciting. You have 2 possible elimination games in the American League, Astros and Red Sox. If they both win, or either win, they advance. If they both lose, then they go to a Game 5. And you have Dodgers late night against the Giants. Huge favorite for Max Scherzer against Alex Wood, the former Dodger. So the good news is, hey, we got plenty of baseball today. And you also have a couple CFL games. Colts-Ravens tonight wraps up the Week 5 card, and then we get started on Thursday with the Buccaneers and the Eagles in Philadelphia in week number 6. And I want to put this one out there too. Not like it matters, but Tom Brady, 0-6 against the spread in primetime games with the Buccaneers. Now, it doesn't we don't count the Super Bowl in there, but in the regular season and regular season in the wild card against Washington last year, primetime games for Tom Brady, 0-6 against the spread. And that includes the non-cover and the win over the Patriots a few weeks ago. So just keep that in mind. And Philadelphia off a good win yesterday at Carolina, beating the Panthers. Now, before we get out of here, I want to tell you again about our friends at BetMGM, the king of sports books. And if you bet $10, you can win $200 if your team scores a touchdown. Bet on any NFL money line. If your team scores a touchdown, you'll receive an additional $200 in free bets. New players only, must be 21 or older and legal in the following states: Arizona, New Jersey, Indiana, Colorado, Tennessee, West Virginia, Iowa, Virginia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Washington, D.C. Full terms and conditions apply. BetMGM, they are the king of sports books. Mike, thanks again to Dave Sharapan for joining me here on the Daily Insider. And if you missed any of our conversation, you can catch a replay of the Daily Insider on our YouTube channel at Vegas Insider, also on our homepage all day long. Just look for the Daily Insider link. And also, we have Dave's NFL conversation. We turn it into the podcast for Bet and Collect. So if you want to check out the Bet and Collect podcast later, that conversation will be there. So you don't have to watch, you just listen. But that is there for your listening use as well. We'll be back with you tomorrow at noon Eastern, and looking forward to that. Recap the Monday night game and also the baseball games as well. And the NHL starts tomorrow. You got 2 games, Penguins Lightning and the expansion Seattle Kraken facing Vegas. So you got the NHL season beginning tomorrow as well. I am Kevin Rogers. Thanks a lot for watching this edition of the Daily Insider right here on Vegas Insider.